Now let's go to how do I study one particular subject? How do I approach the details, the inside details, minute? I've even got my book. This is derivatives. Anyway, so first things first, like I already said, never ever skip a reading. Agar usme 4 chapters hai, first finish that, then go to the next subject. So that was rule number 1. Now, when you start, say you're doing the first chapter of derivatives, pricing and valuation wala chapter, suppose, what will you do? A, if you are going to classes like I did, listen to the class properly in detail. Take time to understand. If you are not going to a class, take time to learn it however you learn it. Take time. Time is the key word in passing CFA level 2. This is one thing that I suggest you do not compromise. Most people like to do 2-3 readings of one particular thing. I do not. अगर मैंने एक चीज़ एक बार पढ़ ली तो I really don't have it in me to again and again read the same thing. So what do I do is, my first reading, the first time that I'm studying that particular chapter or subject, I study it in so much detail. Even if I take extra 2 days, हो सकता है everybody else is taking 1 day, I'll take 3 days. But I will study it in so much detail that the next time when I'm just revising, I just need to go through my formulas or my notes because I know the chapter that well. So what do? You learn it however you learn it. Either you read it, either you listen, वो सब कर लिया. Point number 2, make notes. Very very important. अब आप बोलोगे श्वेज़र में तो already notes हैं. नहीं. Make notes to the extent that you explain it to yourself. Any example, हो सकता है आप derivatives ही पढ़ रहे हो, आपको call option समझाना है खुद को. Explain it to you in your words. Explain it to you that तनिष्का को अगर किसी को कुछ बोरो करना है तो अपना नाम लिखो. राइट एग्जाम्पल्स इन लेमैन लैंग्वेज. तनिष्का को अगर किसी को कुछ बोरो करना है और अगर कुछ टाइम बाद उसको पैसे वापस करने, व्हाटएवर. आई एम जस्ट टॉकिंग रबिश राइट नाउ, बट यूज लेमैन लैंग्वेज टू एक्सप्लेन इट टू योर सेल्फ. दैट इज व्हाट आई मीन बाय सेइंग मेक नोट्स. मेक नोट्स टू एक्सप्लेन थिंग्स टू योर सेल्फ. बुक ने समझा दिया वो एक बात है, अब आपको खुद को समझाना है. चाहे कोई भी लैंग्वेज यूज़ करो, हिंदी में लिखना है, इंग्लिश में लिखना है, तमिल, मराठी, मलयालम, तेलुगु, एनीथिंग, you have to explain it to yourself, otherwise you will never understand the thing. That is a very very important point. Point number I don't remember. Solve each and every blue box question. So श्वेज़र नोट्स के blue box question या curriculum के blue box questions सारे solve करने हैं. Even if श्वेज़र, I follow श्वेज़र, तो श्वेज़र में the blue box examples are solved and given. Don't just see the example. Make sure you solve it. If you see, wait, let me find it. If you see the notes that I have made for this, I don't know if you can see, it will be class notes. Class notes matlab what the teacher was explaining, I explained it to myself in my language. See, first chapter, just see the length. And then, that was only, by the way, 3 pages of the chapter, okay? Then you move to textbook sums, that is the blue box questions. Solve it, and solve it in detail, step by step. Don't just write the answer, because you have to explain things to yourself. These small practices is what will make a big difference. So solve each and every blue box example that there is in the श्वेज़र notes. As a next step, what you have to do is solve the chapter end questions of श्वेज़र as well. आप बोलोगे इतना solve? Yes, करना पड़ेगा. If you want to pass the exam, your first reading has to take time. You have to absorb everything. So what do you do in the first reading? Again, recap. Learn it however you do, by listening or by reading. Number 2, make notes, explain things to yourself, very very important. Number 3, solve all the blue box examples. Each and every blue box example has to be solved in detail, not just the answer. Write down the steps, keep explaining why did you do this step, why did you do that step. First of all, sorry, बारिश पड़ रही है. Anyway, step. Next, you will solve the श्वेज़र end of chapter questions as well. We do not stop here. The next thing that you do is you will solve the curriculum questions. Now, curriculum questions level 2 में जो होते हैं ना chapters के, it's a little lengthy. Like there are sometimes 40-50 questions also. It's okay if you don't solve all at this point. Solve at least 20. That should be your goal in the first round of the reading. Solve at least 20 of them and then move to the next chapter. Repeat entire process. Keep repeating this process till you complete the first round of reading. अब इसमें आप बोलोगे this is fine, but what will happen is by the time we go to the next subject, there's a very high possibility that we forget the first. Yes, there is. So what you can do is you can keep a few curriculum questions, like I said, you can keep solving. Even if you do not, it's okay. Why? Let me tell you. Just 1 month before your exam, 1.5 month. 1.5 month is a great time. If not, 1 month is, 1 month should be your upper limit. 1 month or 1.5 month before your exam, you start your reading number 2. This is your final revision. What will you do in reading number 2? अब जैसे हमने already decode कर लिया that because we have read so many subjects, we have almost forgotten the first subjects that we do. So first things first, reading number 2 revision has to happen in the same flow of pattern that you did reading number 1. That means if in reading number 1 you started with fixed income, your revision should also start with fixed income. Why? Because fixed income was the thing that you studied सबसे पहले. That is the highest chance of you not remembering right now. Therefore, you have to give that importance first. Okay? That is rule number 1 of revision. Rule number 2 of revision is, because you have spent so much time in reading number 2, even if you feel that you don't actually remember too much, the actual truth is that you actually will remember a lot. The moment you start seeing your notes, वो जो notes आपने लिखे थे to explain yourself, those 3 to 4 pages, you will start recalling every single thing, because you're not aware that those extra 2 to 3 days that you took to do your reading number 1 has helped you absorb things so well that your reading number 2 will go as fast as this. That was the trick. So in reading number 2, very simple, only 2 rules. You start from the same flow like reading number 1. You only read through your notes, और अगर कुछ बिल्कुल नहीं आ रहा, only then will you open your textbook, otherwise you will not waste time there. Now, one very important thing from reading number 2 that you should follow. Suppose you started revising fixed income, like I said, keeping the flow. फिक्स्ड इनकम आपने रिवाइज करना चालू किया. अभी क्या करोगे, आपने जैसे ही पूरा सब्जेक्ट एक साथ रिवाइज किया, नाउ वी डोंट गो पर चैप्टर, वी गो पर सब्जेक्ट. यू विल रिवाइज द इंटायर फिक्स्ड इनकम सब्जेक्ट, एंड द मोमेंट यू फिनिश रिवाइजिंग द सब्जेक्ट, you will start solving candidate resource questions of fixed income. At least 30 questions should be done before you move on to the next subject. So you will revise first subject, example fixed income, पूरा सब्जेक्ट रिवाइज कर लिया, अपने नोट्स पढ़ लिए, रिकॉल कर लिया, डाउट्स थे, यू हैव सॉल्व देम एवरीथिंग. देन यू विल लॉग ऑन टू योर CFA इंस्टीट्यूट ID, go to candidate resources, start solving fixed income questions. At least 30 will be done. Only then can you go to corporate finance, assuming that corporate finance is your second subject. Now assuming that you are taking 3 days or 2 days to revise corporate finance, उन 2 दिनों में आप सिर्फ corporate finance नहीं रिवाइज करोगे. While revising corporate finance, you have to keep solving fixed income questions. So in those 2 days, how will your day start is 10 questions of fixed income in the morning and then revise corporate finance. 10 questions of fixed income in the morning and then revise corporate finance. Now बोलोगे starting में तो बोला don't mix 2 subjects. Now why you're doing it? Now we are doing it because now you have a in-depth understanding of each subject, and now is the time to bind it together, to be able to do 2 to 3 subjects together. That is the goal. So suppose corporate finance के बाद आपने eco पढ़ कर लिया, तो eco के साथ, so while studying eco every day you will also solve 10 questions of corporate finance, 10 questions of fixed income and revise eco. So you will accumulate it. That has to be, because that is now your end of time revision, right? Has to be done. No compromises can be done in this point. Now you will tell me, what if we do not finish the candidate resource questions? It's okay. I did not. I left, I think 500-600 questions were left. It's okay. Do not stress about it. It's not about the number of questions that you do. It is about, do you know the concepts? By this time, you definitely will know if you have followed this pattern properly, right? अभी ये सब पूरा हमने strategy पढ़ लिया. But where is ethics? You will ask, right? I already told you that I will tell you about ethics a little later. For ethics, there is only and only one rule that you have to follow, and it is non-negotiable. Trust me, do not take a risk with ethics. Take one day, say 3 months before your exam, take any 1 or 2 days max to reread all the 7 standards. You know it, so this is just a revision. You just need to read it again to make sure कि अच्छा सब याद है, requirements and recommendations, that's it. take 1 day, take 2 days, read it. 3 months before your exam, or 2.5 to 3 months is a good time to do it. And the moment you finish that, from that day, the moment you finish reading those 7 standards, from that day till at least 2 days before your exam, you will solve at least 10 questions of ethics every single day. It is a non-negotiable point. आप एक भी दिन नहीं छोड़ोगे. Obviously there might be some birthday, some celebration, some not well day, not something that is okay. Everybody is forgiven 1 or 2 days. I don't mean it इतना strict नहीं होना, but you have to be very, very serious that in those 2.5 months, at least so let's say 3 months, 90 days में से at least 75 days, 10 questions of ethics have to be done every single day. That is the only way you're gonna be able to solve ethics. Why? And do not take ethics for granted कि अरे level 1 में तो मुझे बहुत अच्छे से आता था, मुझे 70% के ऊपर मिल गया. Don't take it for granted, because in level 2, the way the ethics questions are framed are very different. They are not straightforward like level 1. They will be given in a case study format, and they will really, really dissect. Your mind will be boggled. And the only way you can tackle this is by practice. So make sure that you are practicing ethics every single day for at least 2.5-3 months. Non-negotiable, that point is. Moving on to the last part of my strategy, the mock test. Now, I did 2 mock exams before my CFA level 2 exam. I've said this in a video before as well, that I usually like to do my mock exams. I only do the CFA Institute mock exams, by the way. I usually like to do my mock exams just 2 to 3 days before the exam. I don't know why, I feel it really helps. So you can also try that. 2 to 3 days before the exam, you can do 1 or 2 mocks. It's a good, complete, wholesome revision. It really helps. That will be your last step. And as a final step, this is not compulsory, this is something that I follow. Just 1 day before the exam, the only thing I do is I read through the formulas that I've written. Sare subjects ke just formulas, I don't do anything else. Make sure 1 month before your exam you're not learning anything new. That is an absolute no. So yes guys, that was my study strategy that I did for level 2. I pretty much think that I have covered everything. मैंने लिख के भी रखा था. So yeah, I do think I've covered anything. In case you feel that I have missed out on something, then you can let me know in the comment section below. I will definitely address that. If there is something in particular that you want to know more, please let me know in the comment section and I will address that as well. Keep watching my videos, keep spreading the love. If you like this video, then definitely please subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys very, very soon. Until then, keep learning and definitely keep sparkling.